So a few months ago, I really wanted a little cabinet thing just to put all my finishing stuff in, and I've decided to put it behind the pillar drill there. First job, measure up the area and then scribble it out on a piece of paper, just to kind of visualise it on paper as what I actually wanted. So I draw it out, and then the items that I want to store in it, I measure those to make sure that I put the shelves appropriate space apart, just so I can fit them in. It kind of seems pretty obvious. This wasn't actually going to be a very technical or difficult build, but I thought I'd do a video because there's a few little tricks in here that I think a lot of YouTubers miss or edit out or whatever. So no point bothering wasting my time on SketchUp or anything like that. Scribble it out on paper and then give yourself a little bit of a cutting list. And that's kind of a guide. It's not set in stone as long as it'll fit the items that I want it to fit. So I'm picking out a load of scrap. This is actually Oak Veneered MDF, 3/4 inch thick. And it's just what was left over from goodness knows how many different projects over an even longer period of time. And all I'm doing here is basically working out which bits from my cutting list I can get out of the bits that I've already got, and then rough cutting them to size. Now at this point, if I can't make it quite tall enough because of the materials I've got, I can reduce it in height, or I can reduce it in width, or whatever I need to do, just to make sure that I've got what I want. And then once I've worked out that I can get the bits I need or I want, I then prefer personally to do all my rip cuts first, because if I set the table saw up and it's maybe a couple of mil wider or narrower than I wanted, they're all the same, and that's what's going to actually be important at the end of the day. So I rip all of my shelves, all of my components, equal sides, equal shelves, exactly as they need to be. In this case, the two sides, the top and the bottom, and then the shelves. Once I've got those together, I then gang them all up so I can mark the two opposite sides, or the opposite top and bottom of the shelves, give them the right length, and then I know all my components are either more importantly the same, not necessarily the exact millimetre measurements that I wanted originally, just that they're the same. Then I can make a square box. So I dry assemble it all together just to make sure that actually all the bits that I've cut will work, and then with the sides, the top and the bottom, I'm just marking which sides I want to rebate for the back to fit in. Because this is a veneered board, I need to just cover up the exposed edges with some iron-on edging veneer, and I always do this right at the very beginning. I see a lot of people doing this once the project is kind of half built or even complete, and it's just a waste of time. Don't be scrapping around trying to be really economic with this iron-on stuff. It's really cheap and just much easier to trim off when you've just got a plank, rather than trying to get joints and meeting miters or stopped housings or whatever it is that you're doing. Just get it all trimmed up, sand it down as the original planks, because you're trying to make it look like solid wood. So have a solid looking piece of wood to start with, and then do all your joinery. That's my thing. So various ways to flush it up. Here I'm using just a little block plane just to... If you haven't got a little block plane, you can use the size of a big chisel, or if you've got a fancy router, just with a flush trim bit on the router table, and a little sacrificial fence just raised up above the bearings to give it to ride against. We'll soon trim that down, just so everything looks like a solid piece of wood. I gave it a good old sand. Again, it's much easier to do this when you've got individual planks, especially if you've been shelving and whatnot. And then now it's time to slop on some finish. This is actually a sample of a floor finish by a company called Rubio UK, Rubio Mono, something like that. They basically make really cool looking floor finishes. So it's nice and hard wearing, particularly if I'm going to be putting in tins of, I don't know, melamine finish or lacquers or stuff like that. It's going to be slopping everywhere. And then I'm using the new trend pocket hole jig, which is the pro version. It's a metal pocket hole jig. I don't know why people go out and rave on the plastic jigs. I much prefer the metal ones. And just giving it a go. Nice and quick. It's a shop project, so I don't need to kind of mess around with any joinery. It's just got to hold it together at the end of the day. I particularly like this version because it's got that extractor hose on it, which makes a lot less pocket hole joinery, makes loads of mess, and nobody likes that. So then I'm going to rebate the two sides, the top and the bottom, on the router table. It's just much easier to do on the router table. Set it up once and then throw the 4 bits through. And once I've got all my components, I can then basically just fanny around and get all the corners lined up and screwed together. I didn't even bother using glue, so I can completely take this apart later if I want to. I might glue the black on actually. We'll see in a second. But again, whenever people put in pocket hole videos, they always just magically line the corners up. Pocket holes are alright, but they do need a little, because there's nothing physically holding them until the screws go in. They do need a little bit of help to line them up and hold them in place, I always find. So I like to clamp on the edges. And just a bit of 4mm, I think MDF that was kicking around. I think it was probably packaging from something else actually. Just cut that down on the track saw and then fettled it in with the block plane to get it to fit. Once I knew it was fitted and my carcass was square, then I decided to line up all the shells and then screw those in. Again, much easier without the back on. Yeah, and I glued the back on, so happy days there. A few brad nails in there, and then just using the track from the track saw, just marking with pencil where the shelves are on the other side, and then just black a few more brads through to hold the back. After that, it's just a case of putting it into place in its new home, screw it to the top of the bench because it's not going to go anywhere, and then just chuck in all the bits that didn't have a home but now do. And there it is. Works perfectly. Might as well use up some of that finish just to put another coat on the top of the workbench as well. Thanks for watching. Catch you again later.